Hello all and welcome to Wow Crochet yet again for another tutorial. My name is Mary and in today's tutorial we are working on this gorgeous border for our rectangle swatch. Now if you remember our swatch, this was the one we made last week, roughly around this time, might have been a little bit later even, I think Thursday or Friday. And I said to you that this week we will be doing a border for it. Yes, we have. We've done this border and we weaved in all the ends. I show you how to do that. How gorgeous has the border turned out? Look at that. And this is how you can do a full border for your blanket, the granny square blanket that we've been working on, the corner to corner granny square blanket, or stick around because it's going to be a different border for that one. All right, so heads up just there to let you know it's going to be a different border. All right, I just wanted to show you what this border looks like. Now this is a basic border, a very basic border, but I just wanted to show you what it's like and how you can weave in your ends after you put the border on rather than before, which I find a lot easier, but yours truly does wash and block her pieces before border rows anyway. So there you go. A little bit of trivia there. Now you will need, you will need the yarn you used for your piece, and I was stressed a little bit because I was playing a little bit of yarn chicken with the yellow. That's all I have left of the yellow. And you will need the same size hook that you used to create your piece with, which I believe we used a 4 for that particular piece. You will need you'll need 4 stitch markers. I'll explain that to you in a second. You will need your weaving needle and you will need your scissors. Okay, now the stitch markers. Okay, what I wanted to explain was in every corner you will be popping 3 of that particular stitch that we're working in each of the rows. Sometimes it's hard to find the middle of that corner. So in the row before I start the row, I get to that middle stitch and then I pop the stitch marker in for you. So when you come around to do your single crochet in that row, you find that middle stitch. So it's not that difficult and it makes everything look even. If you don't put it in the middle stitch, it can kind of turn a little bit and your work will look a little bit like that, sticking out to one side. All right, but now it's perfectly straight, making everything look even. I love, love, love. Let's move everything out the way and praise our little job because it's gorgeous. Like everything we make. Sorry guys, you must be really sick of me saying the word gorgeous, but it certainly is. I do love that I use the yellow and the orange. I'm really into an orange phase at the moment. I don't know why. I am. So what we did here was double crochets in that first round and single in the last round. Okay, I'm not going to talk anymore guys, we're just going to get started on the corner to corner granny rectangle border rows. Thanks for watching and good luck. Alrighty guys, here is our piece. You will need your orange, colour there, and you will need your yellow, that colour there. Now you can use any colour you like to pop your border on. I'm going to use the 2 colours for a contrast burst. Okay, so I'm going to be starting with the yellow, but firstly you will also need your same size hook that you used to create your rectangle. You will need your scissors, darning needle and your 4 stitch markers. I'll explain that to you later. I'll just move those to the side and that to the side. Now the reason I'm doing my border row for our rectangle piece like this with all the ends is because someone said to me, oh, I don't like washing and blocking my piece, so I'm not going to weave in my ends now. I want to weave it in after the border row's on. And that's not usually the way I do it, but I thought just for this one tutorial I would show you how I do a border row without weaving in the ends first. So we're going to be weaving them in after, which would mean ordinarily I would wash and block this piece first, by the way, before border goes on, but would mean that I'm not washing and blocking it yet. All right, which is okay. There's nothing wrong with that. Okay. Now, the way I like to start a border row on a granny stitch rectangle, corner to corner, is the area where we first started. If you remember correctly, when we first started our blanket, we chained 4, we slip stitched, and then we popped our full cluster set in there. Okay, so I usually start from there. Now, I also like to start on a side where when we slip stitch to join, the first row we did was this one here. So I also like to start on that row. There's no right or wrong side. But for some reason, I feel, usually when you're making a pattern, they say the first row is usually the right side. So I feel in my mind that that would probably be a right side, and I'd like to keep it that way. It kind of gives me a sense of understanding. I don't know if it's right or not, but it gives me a sense of understanding that that's how most patterns work anyway. So what I'm going to do, I'm sorry, I should have got you to do it first. Hey, let's have a look. All right, I want you to just pop your hook in that corner space right there. All right, grab your yellow or your orange, whichever you want, because we are using both the colors today. So now, ordinarily we would pull the yellow through, which we are, but I'm going to grab the orange tail that's dangling and we are going to crochet over it. So I'm going to pop it in front and leave it there. Now grab your yellow, pull it through your stitch, and I like to tuck my tail in front just for this one stitch, just to lock it all into place. Now we are crocheting over that orange, all right? So first thing we do is chain 1, 2, and 3. Try not to make that stitch too tight. I'm speaking through experience in all my videos, by the way. Now you do a double crochet just over that tail edge, over both tails for a second only. So you double crochet, you know how to do it because you've been doing it all along, and there's your first double crochet, done. Pop that yellow thread in front, at the back, get it right, Mary. You have one job, woman. All right, now you're going to crochet over that tail still, you've still got another stitch to go. But before we go, grab, out of the 4 stitch markers that you have, grab the colour that is different, all right? That shows you, or me, or the newbies, that stitch there is your very first stitch that you need to slip stitch into when you come back around, all right? So you're going to be slip stitching, that's the stitch to there, you're going to be slip stitching into that 3rd chain right there. All right, let's get close. See that one there, that stitch there, belongs to your double crochet post, right? You chained 1, 2, and 3. You grab this little stitch marker and you pop it through the 2 loops of that chain right next to your double crochet. Okay, so just pop it in there. Pop your hook back in your stitch and continue. Now you are classifying as having 2 double crochets there, even though you've got the chains and 1 double crochet. The chains will act as a double crochet. So now you are going to do a double crochet over, not the yellow, leave the yellow at the back, just your double crochet over that orange tail right there. And that's your 3rd double crochet for the corner. Now you are going to leave that tail. You're going to jump into the very next space with 3 double crochets. 1, 2, and 3. Oops. Might just bring that out a bit so you can see a bit better. That's better. Now we're going to jump into that very next space with 3 double crochets. 2 and 3. All right. Jumping into the very next space with 3 double crochets. It's a very basic border, okay? Just wanting to help you out with your ends. They're coming up very soon. In fact, I think one is now next. Sure is, right there. Okay, so there's your next space, and what you're going to do, you're going to do 3 double crochets in the space, crocheting over that tail end. Now you are actually going to weave in these ends after you crochet over them as well, because look, I can tell you and be honest with you, it can come undone and your work can come undone. Okay, all right, so let's pop that one over there because you don't need that anymore, but we're going to weave the yellow one in. I'm sorry. We are going to crochet over the yellow one now. See that tail there I've just passed over? Pop your hook in with your 3 double crochets. So there's a lot to think about. You've got to think about your double crochets. You've got to think about crocheting over the right ends in the right spot. There's another one. So we're going to crochet over that one this way. And you also have to worry about your corners as well. And I'll explain that to you when you get to the first corner. So we are crocheting over that end with 3 double crochets. All right, 2 and 3. Super easy. Just have to remember everything and always check to see if there's an end to crochet over. And there's one there. So we are going to crochet over those 3. Crochet over that one with 3 double crochets. Too early in the morning for me, guys, too early. Pass that at the back. All right, now we're going to pass that tail at the back. All right, and this is, we're getting close to the corner. That is a normal space, so you've got to pop, let me get closer, you're going to see this one. So that's a normal space, that's a normal space, and right in that little tip there is a corner. So you're going to pop 3 double crochets in that space. There's no tails to crochet over. We just did that in that previous section. 1, 2 and 3. Now right here is, if you remember correctly, there's a stitch that you did there. We chained up 4 and we turned. In that turn stitch right there, those 2 little threads there, that's your corner. You're going to do 1 double crochet first, then you're going to do a second one, and in that second one you are going to place one of your blue coloured, doesn't matter which size, I just had a bigger one out because I couldn't find the small one, in that stitch right there. That shows you it's a corner. So when you come around with your single crochets later, you need to put your 3 single crochets in that corner. I'll explain that later when we get to it. Now you have to put your 3rd double crochet in that corner still, and now you do 3 double crochets in the space next to it. It's really stretched. It'll stretch back in a moment, don't stress. It does work its way back. 3. Oh, did I put 3 or 4? 3, good. Once you do this part here, it stretches back, okay? So now you're putting 3 double crochets in the next space. Oh, I'm out of frame. Sorry, guys. Let me bring that out a bit. That's better. Oh, Mary. Clumsy as, huh? Clumsy. Okay, 3 in your next. I'm going to speed it up a little bit because what I want you to do, this is the easy part. Tell you what I will do. I'll get you to, let me finish off this 3rd one here. Just put 3 in every space you get to until you get to here. And you don't need to crochet over any tails because there aren't any. So 3 double crochets until you get to about here, the second last row there. See where you see the last 2 clusters, and wait for me there. All right, here we are where you've got your 2 cluster sets. So we need to do 3 double crochets obviously in there. 1, 2, 3. All right, now here there is a tail. So grab your tail, hold it in your hand. This is another way of doing it. And you are going to put your 3 double crochets over that piece. You can drop it now. 1, 2, and 3. So what you're going to do with that tail later, just give it a bit of a tug, that one. You're going to weave that back through later. All right. There's another spot there. You are going to put 3 double crochets in there. 1, 2, and 3. All right. Now, this is where you pop a corner in one of these stitches right here. So find a stitch, pop it in one of them with 2 threads over and 1 thread under. Sorry, I'll get a close up there. Take that undone and do that again for you, just so you can see where I went. Now it's any one of these stitches. You don't have to be fussy, just find one, pop it through that stitch, pull up a loop, and there it is, the one underneath and two on top. And then you do your normal double crochet, one, do a second one, and you know what you're going to do with that second one? We're going to pop your stitch marker in it. Remember, like we did with the other corner? Yes, now you're going to do a third one in the same space. Now, if you couldn't get it in the stitch, you could have just done it all in the one space. It can look a little bit messy though, so I do prefer to pop it in the stitch. Now, you pop another 3 double crochets in the space. Okay, a little bit overcrowded, but it looks good later, trust me. All right, there we go. Now you jump into your next space with your 3 double crochets. 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so, just too close, I'm sorry. I'm not watching what I'm doing, am I, guys? I've been clumsy again. 1, 2, and 3 in your next space. Oh, there's always one clumsy person in every tutorial. Oh dear. 1, 2, and 3. And, here we go. See that thread there? Hold it with your hands at the back, any way you like. And you are going to crochet over that thread this way. Just do 1 stitch and then you can let it go. And then you do your second one, second one. And then your third, and I'll show you again closer with the yellow so you know what I just did. Whoops, and I've just made a mess of that stitch, I just pulled it through. There you go, you can give it a tug at the back. We are definitely going to weave those in as well, okay? So let's get a nice close-up of what I just did because we're going to do it with the yellow. So your yellow is facing that way. I could crochet over it this way if I wanted to, but you have that yellow thread as well. You have 2 there. So we are going to pass 1 in that hand because I find it, if you crochet over 2 at a time, it looks really thick. This way, you've got 1 going one way and 1 going the other, okay? So you're going to crochet over it. So you're holding your thread at the back with whatever fingers you want to hold them with. Pop your hook in the space, wrap around it, do your first loop, and then you can drop everything as you've done your first loop. Because that's not going anywhere now, you just keep crocheting over that piece. Simple, yeah? Simple. All right, do the same with your next yellow. Hold it that way, crochet over it. 1, drop it, and then 2, and then 3. All right, so we've got another thread at the back there for the orange. We're getting close to our corner. We're going to put a yarn over your hook and crochet over that stitch, that thread, and in the stitch 1, and then you go 2 and 3. All right, so we are now officially at the corner, okay? So what you need to do here, now with the other corner, there was like, there was something here that you could stitch into, that corner right opposite, okay? But this one there isn't, so you just have to find one of the stitches here. It doesn't matter which one. Pop your hook in, 1, 2, maybe the third one if that helps. So it goes 1, 2, and then the third one. Pull your loop through and do your 3 double crochets, but do 2 first, and then pop your stitch marker in. Oops, I'm dropping it everywhere. Pop your stitch marker in, and you're putting it in between the V looking thing. And of course, it's a real tight one, that one. Oh dear. Finish off your last double crochet. And now you pop 3 double crochets on the side there. 1, 2, and 3. And then you just keep going down with your 3 double crochets. All right. There are no more tails to crochet over, so we're just going to go for it. And go. Alrighty, almost nearing the end of the row here. Right, we have 2 sides left before we get to that corner space, okay? So we do 3 in the first one. 1, 2, and 3. Whoops, yep. And 3 into your next one. 1, 2, and 3. Okay. See that stitch marker right there? You are going to slip stitch in there. So you could probably pop your hook in first because this stitch is always so difficult to get into. I'll just take it out. Alright, so take your stitch marker out of that stitch. Okay, and now, same stitch. You just pop your hook in through that stitch. You didn't have to chain anything, you just pop your hook in, pull a loop through, like so, and through to the loop on your hook, pull up a loop, cut it, and that is your first row of your border done. Okay, now that second stitch right there is the actual corner. Oh, I'm sorry. You know where the corner is because we just pulled up a loop in our first stitch. So that second stitch is your corner. All right, if that helps. Okay, so that is your first row. You've got one final row to go, and that's good because I've almost run out of yellow. I'm thinking, oh, am I going to make it? Going to make it, playing a bit of yarn chicken, as you do. All right, so you're going to grab your orange. This is going to be your final row, final border row. You can start anywhere you like. To be honest with you, I'm not going to start here because I want to crochet over that tail. You don't have to. This is just me being finicky. I'm going to start in another corner space. All right, so you grab your stitch marker out of that space, pop your hook in any corner space. Notice how I say any corner space. And you do let me get a close up for you. Pull a loop through. Now this is the way I like to do it. This row will be so much easier because there's not as many threads. I pass it over. You don't need to if you don't want to. Okay, we're going to do a chain. Nice tight chain there. Pop a single crochet in the same stitch, which is 1. Let me get a nice close up for you. And a second one in that stitch, 2. And I was going to say put your stitch marker in, but you don't need it now. Yes, you do. You need it for the first stitch back. So now you pop your stitch marker in that first stitch that you just did. All right, because we're in our second stitch. Leave it there and you'll be slip stitching into that later. We are still doing our third stitch for the corner. So your third single crochet goes in there. And now you single crochet across. And as you can see, I'm still crocheting over that tail end. You don't have to if you don't want to, but I like to do it, say about maybe 3 or 4 stitches, and this is I think been 5. Pop it at the back. I will weave that in as well afterwards because I'm finicky. I am. I'm sorry guys, but I am. All right, so we're single crocheting all the way across to our next stitch marker and go. right, here we go. We are fairly close to that stitch marker. There's a stitch there. Now let's just stop for a minute. Your stitch marker is there. That is the middle of your corner. That is where you need to put your 3 single crochets. This stitch has a little tail on it, okay? But what I like to do, and you don't need to, I hold the tail at the back again, like I did with my other ones, and I put it in, I crochet over it in that very stitch before it. So I put a single crochet in the stitch right before it, crocheting over it, 1. Now you've got your stitch marker there, and this, all of this, believe it or not, is 1 stitch. If you wanted to, you can pop your hook in there, or you can pop it over. It doesn't matter as long as you go over the whole thickness of that stitch. So there's the first one in your corner, and now you need to jump into that stitch marker. We'll take the stitch marker out. Okay, and you need to put in 3 single crochets in that 1 space. So 1, 2, oops, that's a bit loose. Try that again. 2, 3 in that same space. Turn your work and continue with your single crochets along the row. Okay, all right, let's have a look what you've done there. All right, so that is now what you're looking at. You've formed your little corner there. You've got your little corner here, okay? Now what I would like for you to do, this is the best part, guys, is continue along that row, putting your 3 single crochets in that corner. So you single crochet all the way, 3 single in the corner, single all the way, 3 single in the corner, single all the way, get to your last or second last stitch and meet me up there. Alrighty guys, so here I am at the end of the row. We have, well, I have 2 single crochets to do. So I go 1 in the first, 1 in the next. Now that where your stitch marker is where you pop your hook. This is all we're going to do now is slip stitch across, pop your hook in that stitch marker, pull out the stitch marker, grab your tail end and pull it through. Pull up a loop, cut it there, and there you go. Your border is now complete. Oh, gorgeous. See, it kind of sorts itself out. The wave has disappeared. If you've noticed, there was a massive wave happening. Before we put the single crochet row on, it was kind of like this. I don't know if you noticed it with yours. Once the row of single crochet went on, look how gorgeously straight that is. Oh. Just imagine now, had you blocked it before, it would be like you wouldn't have some of these tiny waves that you have. Not too worried about them, because all that takes is a little bit of squeezing back into place. And when you wash, if you don't like blocking, just wash, give it a stretch, straighten it the way you like, walk away and let it dry flat as is. All right, and that's that. Now, you haven't finished yet, guys. You know why? Because you still have these ends. I know we crocheted over some of them, but we are also going to weave them in as well. It's double the strength, and there we go, let's bring that up, and you're secure in the knowledge that it's nice and strong. So there's the first one we crocheted over, or one of them. So all you're doing is finding another section to go back into. Maybe lift up a stitch and then go in, weaving in back the other way. All right, just checking that your needle is not coming through at the back. Pull that through, and there you go. That's one. You've already crocheted over it once, you've sewn it in a second time. Guess what? You're going back the other way, and you're going to a different area, of course. And you're popping it through again. Make sure you check the front, you can't see the needle. And then pull it through, and that thread there will never come undone. Even if you want to wash it in the washing machine, that will never come undone. All right, I don't, but I'm just giving you that heads up. All right, just give it a tug. It kind of sits it all into place. It'll hide inside that area there and won't come undone. That's one you needed to make sure we did, just one. I'm not going to show all of these. You're going to go off air and do them yourself. But I'm just going to show you the main ones. Now, this is the yellow one that we crocheted over with our single crochet. So it's only crocheted over lightly, which would mean that it may come undone. It's likely it will. So we really need to go back in another direction, pick up a loop somewhere. Let me get even closer to show you that loop I picked up. So this is where we crocheted over. All right, I'm pulling it to show you. So if I went back in there, that's going to unravel. So what I'll do is I'll pick up a little loop somewhere and then go back into there, maybe go through a few loops, a few threads, making sure you can't see the needle on this side, okay? And you can't, so that's good. Go through that way. Then you're going to go back the other way and you're going to do the same. You're going to lift up another thread. Where are we? We're there. Oh, it's a bit tricky, this one. So I'm going to go under that orange and back the other way. And if you want, you could actually just go through other areas, making sure you can't see the needle in front, which is okay too. And then, because we went through that area, I think we should go back the other way, otherwise it's just going to be noticeable. All right, can't see the needle, good. Pull that through, I think that's plenty, yeah? Plenty. Now just being careful you don't cut your work. Always lift your scissors out. Don't face them in because it's a way of cutting your work. Pop your scissors there and lift it out that way. Now I know that if I give that a tug, it's going to fall into the stitch, which it did, okay? So that's that. Now we have the very last stitch. This is the one that everybody fusses with, and I know that there is an invisible way of crocheting that in, but it's a bit tricky for newbies, so I'm just going to show you the normal sewing version. Just going to show you the normal sewing version. It's rather tricky for the newbies, all right? So all you need to do is find a stitch. See, this is your front of your work now, as I mentioned before. This is now the front of the work. This is your back, because you see the bubbled edge and it kind of looks a little messier. Whereas this one, and as you can see, all your tails are at the back. So you're going to have to weave them in, yeah? So this is the front of your work. You want to go to the back. You can go down, you can go through a stitch, you can go on the side of the stitch, you can go anywhere you like. And for me, I think what I'm going to do is just pop my needle in that first stitch right there. Oops, making sure to hold on to it. That didn't work, let's try that again. Pop my hook, my needle in that stitch, and then just pulling the loop through there. Okay, give it a gentle tug and there you go. So it's hidden. All right, now you turn your work over. And yes, once again, this is very tight stitching. You've got to weave this in. I find that weaving it into the corner better because there's a whole lot of solid thickness there happening. So that's a good place to go. Whoops, I didn't check the front, but I know for a fact that I didn't go through the front. Okay, there. All right, yes, being careful not to pull that too tight. I pulled that too tight and it pulled all the threads across. I'm sorry, I'm too far away. Pulled all the threads across. Pull that through, making sure, I keep forgetting to check the front, but it was okay. Now we're going to go back the other way. So you find another stitch to go under and then back through all thicknesses. There. Just turn that over and have a look-see. No needle. Perfect. Now I think that's plenty. If you want to do some more, you can with that thread, but I think that's plenty. Remembering to cut your yarn outwards rather than inwards. Okay. It's a bit like when you're cooking, you know, and you want to cut your food and you're cutting that way. You're not cutting this way, are you? You're cutting that way, away from your hand. I'm sorry, I'm just giving you a cooking lesson there. Sorry about that. But there you go. Ta-da! Yes, very nice. Don't forget, guys, you need to weave in all these gazillion ends that we did. And now that you know how to weave in, you can head off on your own and do them. All right, so thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share and do all those wonderful things that you do for me. Also, join us tomorrow for our Wednesday afternoon live at 4 p.m. Melbourne, Australia time. Or you can join us on Saturday morning at 10 a.m. Melbourne, Australia time for our live as well. Otherwise, join me on Thursday for our very next tutorial. I'm not going to tell you what that is. You're going to have to come and see. So thank you so much for watching, guys. And as I say after all my tutorials, ciao for now.